did look at the previous recording. So I did have a question. So the pool, I just have to verify, the pool has not changed, but the pool supply shed or pool house, as you're calling it, has changed? Is that
That's
accurate?
correct. We did change the walkway width on the around the perimeter of the pool from 5 feet to 4 feet.
And the
Okay, but the pool itself has not changed.
Correct.
The walkway around it has.
Correct.
Okay.
I would also note that in the previous application, the pool shed was misnamed. This was never going to be a pool house. It was only going to be for the mechanical operations of the pool and supplies. So we have changed that name and repositioned it.
Okay. Yeah, I noticed there were two different names on that.
That was deliberate.
All right. Yes, thank you. The plan, I think, is the more straightforward portion of this application.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course,
So-
thank you.
The pool obviously is a rough size. It's not to exceed this. But in terms of support for the variance, we made all the arguments at the first hearing, and we've now since supplemented. I've provided you with videotapes of what we submit supports why we need a pool of this size, these dimensions, and this depth. We have scoured every known resource, legal resource available to us to find similar situations. Most recently, I think the case in Woburn is somewhat similar. It was just decided in September. I recognize it's not binding on this board. None of the materials I have submitted are binding on this board. I recognize that, but I think that they are persuasive. In all of those cases that we have submitted, it was a similar situation where it was a homeowner who had a child who had a special need, and aquatherapy was part of that special need. In the Woburn case, it was a situation where the pool is going to be heated by solar, just like the legs situation where the pool needs to be heated for a long period of time for Maddie's extensive therapy. This pool in Woburn also needed to be heated, and they needed to move the shed in a place that was non-conforming. So the variance was granted for that reason, so they could do it. And the rationale there is the rationale that we're submitting supports the variance here. Specifically, this is a small lot. This is a non-conforming size lot, a corner lot. We don't meet the front of the side setback. There is no place else this pool can go. There is no effective use for this family on this lot that they need for this necessary pool for Maddie. It is not more detrimental to the neighborhood. There are 3 pools by our count within a quarter mile of this one. In fact, we are going to improve the situation. We have heard abutters talk about surface water runoff. Because we're going to be excavating in this area, we're going to capture that surface water runoff. We're going to take it off the street and make it a better situation. We recognize that any variance is extraordinary relief. We think this is an extraordinary situation, both the land and the people that own it. This is a vital need to this young woman. Her parents have done everything they can to help support her. She is living in a coastal community, in a coastal neighborhood, and will never be able to avail herself of gaining access to the beach. But this isn't just a joy pool. This is something she needs for her medical therapy. This is aqua therapy. And we submit that, we have set out why we think we meet the criteria, which we recognize is a heavy burden for a variance. And I think if a variance can't be granted in a situation like this, then I'm not sure there's any reason that a variance could be granted. So we would ask this board to grant a variance to the legs so they can construct the pool set forth on this plan. And all of us would be happy to respond with any questions, including Melanie Legg. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Attorney Sullivan. So I appreciate very much your efforts and what you've produced in terms of, you made the point, I'm hesitant to call it precedent, I guess, but to produce some examples of boards and cases in similar situations. I know that wasn't easy to locate those. You bring up, and I want to get into each of those individually. I also want to get into the variance standard. I know we covered some of it before. I think we're all more educated as to this situation now. And I wonder the best way to start that process. And maybe it is with Woburn, because I think it sets a good tone for the rest of the cases. In Woburn, as I reviewed it, it struck me that the pool existed as of right. And the shed, which was needed due to the requirements for the heating, which was needed due to the handicapped individual who lived in the home, the variance was for a shed. And that struck me as more important than just being different from this situation, in that in reviewing this application, I've reviewed these cases, I've reviewed some other materials, I've refamiliarized myself with the ADA and with several other things, and the basis and the idea behind those things, and an idea that is wonderful and that should be taken very seriously, is someone who is handicapped should have every right to access, enjoy, and utilize facilities that someone who is not handicapped would. And in Woburn, there was at least an argument, and not everyone in the Woburn hearing agreed on that, but there was at least an argument, and I think whether you agree with it or not, a very valid argument, that the variance for the shed was to make it possible for this handicapped individual to enjoy the pool that was there as of right in the same way that those who were not handicapped would be able to enjoy it. Similarly, in your Maryland case, there were facilities on that property that were able to be accessed and were not able to be accessed by the individual that was handicapped. The variance was needed to provide the handicapped individual access to those facilities. That was a recurring theme through these cases, and we can certainly get more into them individually, and I'd be interested to hear what my fellow board members think. But this is one of the main areas I struggle with this application, is a swimming pool of any shape or size is not allowed by virtue of the code on this lot. And allowing a swimming pool because of the residence of a handicapped individual, well, it may be a very good reason, in my personal opinion, I am not sure the code and the law allows us to grant a variance for that reason.
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Please.
Yeah, I don't see the distinction in the Woburn case and the shed from the installation of the pool. Just because the pool was there, it was an amenity that wasn't available to a handicapped child that lived at that house. Here, we have a similar situation where, she will not be able to avail herself of a pool on that property unless this board grants her a variance.
But no one's allowed to avail themselves of a pool on that property.
Yeah, I think in this instance on this lot, I hear what you're saying, and I don't understand the distinction, because she lives there. It's a situation where on this lot she can't avail herself of aqua therapy, whether the pool is heated or not. That is the crux of our situation. There is no case in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that is right on point of this. I acknowledge that. And, going down the ADA regs, that's a completely different animal.
Right, absolutely.
And so that would be a different petition to the officer of the ADA here, which is Mr. Vogel, and going through the state and all that. I'm not sure that's the right path. At least that's
Sure.
the analysis I did. But I think the right path is to move this board to grant a variance for this unique situation. I hear what you're saying. I recognize the burden for granting a variance is a steep one. I've set out the 7 criteria in our initial application. I think this is a unique lot, a unique situation, and I don't see any detriment to the neighborhood. As I indicated, there are 3 pools within a quarter mile in that neighborhood. That's a neighborhood of all small, mostly undersized, non-conforming lots. This is a corner lot, and it's a lot where there's no way to put the pool in the rear of the property or make it conform to zoning. And we have a unique situation where she will not be able to avail herself of a pool like anybody else in the neighborhood might. I also think because we're going to address a situation that neighbors have complained about, there's actually a benefit to the community, not a detriment, and that's one of the standards. So I think this board has the power and hopefully sees the providence of granting a variance in this situation.
Sure. To your point earlier, where we'll get into the merits of this and the variance standard, but if this doesn't qualify for a variance, what would? And I did want to respond specifically to that. If a pool was allowed as of right on this lot, and a variance was needed so a handicapped individual could access that pool, if it was for a staircase or a walkway or a special entrance to the pool that encroached upon the required setbacks, so that a handicapped individual could have the same access to that pool that I would have if I was at the property, I think that's a slam dunk variance. I see a big distinction here. On this piece of property under Situate's code, no one is allowed to have a pool, regardless of their physical capabilities. And that's where I'm struggling. But I also don't want to monopolize that. George, you have anything to add?
So where I'm struggling with this is finding the variant. Let me back up. The variance runs with the land. It does not run with the individual, right? So that's the first hurdle that we have to overcome. This is a special case where this wonderful young girl has very special needs. And we're all trying to find a way to meet those needs. Unfortunately, as far the way I read our zoning bylaws and the authority of this body, I don't know that we have the ability to take into account, as part of the zoning bylaws and our code, her special needs for the provision of a variance. Okay? Now, if you can convince me otherwise, or you convince Tony otherwise, I think he would love to be convinced otherwise, then we can have a conversation of whether the standards are met. But I don't think we have that piece. Right? You're giving us a lot of information of why she needs the pool. Great. Where is that in our zoning bylaws that her needs are such that, right, we are allowed to consider them, right?
And just to respond to that specifically, I do consider them, and I think that we are entitled to consider them. I think it goes to hardship, and I think that, to what I said before, if it was a question of access to a pool that was there as of right, I would absolutely consider the disability, and I think that it would go a long way to meeting requirement number 3 of the variance standard, the hardship, which would be specific to these property owners, and there would be a variance qualification. Where I struggle is the existence is what I said before. I don't think that we can consider the disability in allowing something to exist, a structure to exist that wouldn't have been allowed to exist at all. This isn't, it's, and I do see the argument that the structure is for therapy, which is another conversation that I want to get into. I didn't mean to hijack you.
No, it's okay. No, but we have slightly,
that's hopefully how we come to the right answer,
that's right? That's what we're trying to do.
Susan, well, George and I are pondering here. Do you have anything else to add or ask?
I don't at this moment, thank you.
Okay, of course, of
But I
course.
share many of your concerns.
While we're noodling that, let's take another look at the variance standard. The variance standard, and Walter, as I lay it out, please at any point stop me if you think I'm missing or if I'm off the mark. There are 5 criteria for variances in Massachusetts, and all need to be met. Whether or not they're met, or the interpretation of the 5 criteria is what we can, reasonable minds may be able to differ on, but I think that's clear, and I think it makes sense if we go through them quickly. The first criteria is due to circumstances concerning soil conditions, the shape of the lot, or the topography of the lot. Now, here, I think topography and soil conditions, we can all agree, are out the window.
Yes.
I am of the opinion that the shape of the lot here does not raise any concerns or come into play. I have a feeling that you would interpret the shape of the lot to include it being a corner lot.
Yeah, and I think also in conjunction with the structure that was already there is that I think it is unique. The corner lot is part of it, but also there just really is no other usable space for the implementation and construction of a pool. So I think, there's a strong argument that it meets that standard.
So I'm not necessarily with you there. Obviously, the shape is the only one of those 3 that we can really discuss, and the lot's a rectangle at the end of the day, and too small. I don't have specific cases, but I'm rather certain that there are, to the extent it makes it 2 cases, there are certainly cases that are going to say that too small is not what was intended there with that criteria. But your point is taken, that the corner aspect, and I can't say I agree with the existing home as well. The lot is the lot, the setbacks are the setbacks. What was decided to be built or maintained there previously doesn't really have any effect on the land. The second criteria, and we can go back to any ones that we want, is that proof be required that the situation especially affects the land but not the zoning district generally. Now, if a small lot and a corner lot is what you're looking for there, those are not unique in this zoning district.
Well, I don't think it has to be the only one in the neighborhood. It has to be unique, and I don't know the percentage, but there's probably not more than 10 or 15% that are true corner lots. Here you have 2 public ways that take up, a lot of usable space that have made this lot, as we say, unique and unavailable for my clients to take the benefit of, giving them very tight setbacks in order to use their land the way others in the neighborhood do. So that's our argument as to that.
And George or Susan, please chime in at any point if you would like. I counted 16 other corner lots in the Third Cliff neighborhood alone. The pools that I saw were on lots with significantly larger yard areas. And there are not that many pools in the Third Cliff area.
I counted 3.
Right. And I would make an educated assumption that there aren't that many pools because folks don't have enough space for pools. Lots are small in the neighborhood, and there's setback issues. And there are quite a few side streets which create the corner lots.
I think it's also the proximity to the ocean, which my client can't avail herself of.
I understand that. So and on that, so the the applicant is not able to enjoy the beach whatsoever. She is not able to access the beach.
That's correct.
Okay.
Ever.
Ever. So, to the second point, especially affect the land but not the zoning district generally, I have some trouble there. I don't see conditions on this lot that especially affect this lot and not several others in the district. Third, literal enforcement of the zoning ordinance would cause a substantial hardship, financial or otherwise. This one is the least cut and dry of any of them. It's certainly a hardship on the applicant that she can't enjoy a pool. Is not being able to enjoy a pool that no one would be able to enjoy a hardship that qualifies. I could see both sides of that coin, but, you know, I don't think 3 is where we run into big trouble here. 4, relief can be granted without substantial detriment to the public good. Now, to a certain extent, what harm is done to the neighborhood if someone gets a pool, right? That's obviously a strong argument there, but 4 and 5 really go hand in hand. 5 being without nullifying or substantially derogating from the intent and purpose of the ordinance. Agree with it or not, the Situate zoning bylaw says that pools need to comply with setbacks, and corner lots have 30-foot setbacks from the street. That bylaw, whether or not you think it's necessary, is about as unambiguous as bylaws come. And we're being asked to allow a pool where one is not allowed.
The first sentence in the Situate zoning bylaws indicates one of the objectives is to preserve the health of the citizens.
Yes.
Our position is that's what this is doing.
I understand that. I think I would mention that it's the S on citizens is what's happening there, and the town, when they enacted that bylaw, felt that pools shouldn't exist within 30 feet of a street.
Well, look, there's no question, I mean, if we could comply with the zoning bylaws, we would be here seeking a variance. We need the special relief that only this board can give. And so I would, my position is the overriding intent of the entire bylaws of the town of Situate is to preserve the health of the citizens. And that would be being done here.
Yeah. So I want to go back to something that Ms. Legg mentioned on her statement, and I think it was the first time that I at least heard it so clearly. It may have been mentioned or mentioned in another way earlier, but it was a mention that in order for the pool to accomplish what we wanted to, we need a depth of over 5 feet 3 inches. So that is what it is, and that effectively negates an above-ground pool.
It does, and I think the board, I submitted videos that hopefully you were able to access that show the type of therapy she goes through. She doesn't swim laps. She jumps up and down and dives and retrieves things, and it takes the weight of her body off of her. It's the only exercise she can do,
Right.
Because the water lifts her up, and so 5 feet 3 inches is the operative depth.
And there's no way to overcome that.
Yeah, that's my understanding, correct.
And
That's how tall Maddie is, 5 foot 3 inches.
so she needs water that is over her head.
Right, and that's, she's not ambulatory.
Right.
She's not, she needs to lift her up.
Right.
Because she's vertical, so she needs something that is at least,
Yes.
right, so she's not hitting bottom.
Yeah.
So that I understand.
So, and I don't, and it's probably because I have almost no training or understanding of such things whatsoever. I tried to educate myself on aquatherapy as much as the Google search engines would allow going into this. And what struck me was every aquatherapy specific pool that you look at or that you can find pictures of or diagrams of or sales brochures for on the internet are less than 5 foot 3 inches in depth, and there is a plethora of above ground options, and so I was caught when it was mentioned that she needs a depth over that, and I'm still not sure I understand, but that's because I'm not a...
With the chair's indulgence, if we could unmute Mrs.
Absolutely. I would like maybe a little more understanding of that. That would be helpful.
Thank you.
Ms. Legg, we're trying to unmute you.
Hi, Melanie, are
Okay,
you
I think
here?
it worked.
There we go.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yes, I'm here. Yes, if you do look up some aquatic therapy pools are shallow in all ends, but every person with special needs is different. You can't look up cerebral palsy and find that in a book. There's a huge range from completely severe to very mild, and the same goes for an aquatic therapy session or a physical therapy session. Every single child is different, and so for her, she needs. The deep end is probably more important than the shallow end, but she does utilize both in her therapies, and not every kid does.
And Melanie, would you tell the board exactly what Maddie's situation is? She's at the high range of cerebral palsy and I think autism as well?
Correct.
And
Yeah, she's on the high, she's nonverbal with autism, cerebral palsy. She can walk, but her muscle tone is very, very tight. We're trying to, with all this aquatic therapy, avoid a wheelchair, but that's certainly in her future if we can't get her the right therapies for the next couple of years, especially now that she has that rod in her spine. I mean, she's very, very severe, and like I said, you can't look up a kiddo with autism or scoliosis or cerebral palsy and find them in a book and say this is what they need. Every kid is different, and for her, the way she swims, because she swims vertically, she's 5'1", so 5'3" is what's necessary to get her to be able to swim and take that pressure off her body.
And she's recently had surgery as well for her back. Is that right, Melanie?
That's what you just said.
Yes, she has a metal rod from the base of her spine down to almost her tailbone.
And the aquatherapy addresses all of those ailments, correct?
Every single one she has, which is numerous, yes. The
Right.
cerebral palsy, the scoliosis, the rod in her spine, the autism, the spastic diplegia.
Thank you.
So I had one question. So she needs the 5 foot, she needs the depth, and she also needs the shallow end, which is the reason, I'm trying to understand, the reason an above ground pool would not work. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
And I guess, Melanie, while we have you, you've covered the depth. Can we get into size a little bit? I'm not familiar with aquatherapy. I'm quite familiar with swimming pools. This is not a small swimming pool.
What's that?
I said this is not a small swimming pool. It's even not a small in-ground swimming pool. Can you describe to us a little bit the need for this area?
This pool is a small to medium-sized pool that we're requesting. It's not a large pool. If you look up the size of the pools in a pool company, this is a medium to a small-sized pool.
Melanie, why won't a smaller
Outstanding.
pool serve her interest?
What's that? I'm sorry?
Can you talk about why a smaller pool won't take care of her interests?
Well, like we talked about, the pool that we put in the plan is a spec and a not to exceed number. We could put in a smaller pool than this as long as it meets the parameters of her needs. As long as we can get it over 5 foot 3 inches and also have a shallow end. We are willing to consider going smaller as long as we can get those parameters.
So it's what you understand. Melanie, I'm sorry, it's Walter. So talking to pool companies, to get 5 feet 3 inches or 5 feet 1 inch, this was the size that they were talking about, is that correct?
That's correct.
So, I'm sorry, I just want to, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Susan, I just want to ask one question. I'm wondering, what is the smallest pool that would meet the needs? Because I've heard the vertical swimming, not horizontally, but then when I first listened to the recording, there was a mention of swimming laps. So are laps different from horizontal swimming?
Well, the laps that she swims are side to side on a pool because she has to be in the deep end.
Oh, gotcha.
She can't swim the length of the pool. She swims side to side, and those are her laps. She could never do a regular lap in a pool, even a pool of this size.
Okay.
And I think the video that Walter sent shows her swimming side to side in the deep end.
Okay. So did you consider what is the smallest pool that would meet her needs?
This is pretty close. We haven't looked into those exactly, but we'd be willing to, as long as we can meet her needs, we'd be willing to reduce the size of the pool slightly, as long as we get the depth and the requirements that she needs.
So Melanie, you're saying that essentially a swimming lane would be insufficient. Swimming lanes in pools are approximately 8 feet wide, and there could certainly be a pool that was one or more swimming lanes wide and had the variance of depth in it that you required.
Yes, I mean, it would have to be bigger than 8 feet wide, just because those are the laps she does. To go from side to side on an 8 foot, it would take her, 2 or 3 strokes, and then she'd have to turn around and.
Well, right, but the length could be longer for the purpose of swimming.
Correct, yeah. I mean, I think we have 15 feet, we're down about 15 feet versus 8 feet at this point, right? I mean, somewhere in between would be reasonable.
So I think we're getting confused.
No.
I'm essentially talking about a pool that was more specific to these exercises, and a pool that was more specific to the exercises that I'm hearing would be significantly smaller in total surface area than the pool that is currently proposed. This pool is 30 feet in length. And if that 30 feet was maintained and we went to a size of a pool that was 1 swimming lane wide, we could have half of a pool that was a shallower end for therapy and half of that 30-foot length that was deeper. And you would have the ability to swim in that 16 feet in a deep end. You would have 16 or 15 feet on each side in a shallow end. And I'm by no means meaning to be very specific with these measurements, but that's a pool that is roughly half the size of this one. But at least in my mind is still achieving the depth and swimming and shallow area that I'm hearing are required.
I think that my clients believe they could go a little bit smaller. I think they were trying to be safe, and something I want to address. I think we talked about this at the last meeting, but an above-ground pool will not work at all because this girl will never be able to get into that. She can't bring herself up above it. Okay.
Well, but there are solutions to that problem. There are a multitude of lifts and whatnot and even the cost of a lift in an above-ground pool for aquatic therapy are.
But it doesn't solve our depth. It doesn't solve our depth.
They don't address the depth,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's why I asked.
So-
whether she needs the
Yeah.
shallow end, right?
But
If she
now,
needs the shallow end-
even dealing with the depth and the length required to have that variation in depth, we're still talking about a pool that's roughly half the size of what's being proposed here.
We're not sure we could get half. I mean, Mr. Hannon and I were talking that we could probably make it 2/3 and still get the 5 feet 3 inches.
It- What do you mean?
Like 12 by,
I don't see any models under 12 by 20, but we'd have to consult with the pool
we
company
did a
to
lot of
verify
research.
that.
Like, you mean prefabbed models? Or,
Well, I mean, there's installation, I mean, you go to the pool company and there's certain designs you can pick. And
Sure.
for what she needs in terms of depth, I don't think we can go less than like 12 by 21, is that right?
12 by
along-
20 would be
Yeah.
12 by
the
20.
lowest that I'm aware
and
of,
we're-
but, you know.
we're going down
Rabbit
a
hole.
path I'm not sure.
Sorry,
No, that was me. That's what I mean. I didn't mean to be scolding you whatsoever. So by a margin that isn't even close, this is the most difficult application I've heard in, God, have I been doing this for 7 years? Is it in 6 or 7 years? I want this family to have a pool. I honestly do. It pains me greatly to say it, but I don't see a variance application here that I can vote for.
Would it make a difference to this board if the pool was slightly smaller?
It wouldn't make a difference to me if the pool was slightly smaller. If the pool was significantly smaller and it was clear to me that the only purpose for the pool was to satisfy her medical needs, that the pool was for no other purpose, there's certainly potential that I would feel differently. A pool that was slightly smaller, I just don't see how that would make me feel differently. I struggle with the fact that any pool, there's no space for any pool on this lot. If it was an above-ground pool that could be easily removed, that where a variance application could be limited to an allowance for the period of time that the need existed on the property,
Right.
that I could get there. I have no means or reason to argue with the necessity for the depth to accomplish the goal. That is just well outside my area of expertise. I do question the need for an in-ground pool at this size. More specific sizes are certainly not as readily available, but I know for a fact that in-ground pools are available in any shape or size that one could imagine. Even then, that is a very permanent structure, that is very permanent to a lot, that is not allowed under the code. And I struggle with whether the variance standard is met here.
Mr. Chair, what if there was a condition on the variance that should my client cease to live there, that they would have to remove the pool?
That would go a long way to making me feel differently if I was much more confident that this pool was extremely specific to the medical need. At this point, even at a bit smaller, I'm not confident.
Would the board give us a continuance to the next hearing? So the unfortunate thing about COVID is my clients aren't here, and I don't have the possibility of consulting with them.
Right now.
Of course.
Real-time business,
So
yeah, we understand.
If I could have that opportunity, because this is so vitally important to them.
I understand.
That would be appreciated.
Yes, so I understand correctly, you're asking for continuance
I
to the
am.
next hearing to, just to mainly to confer with your clients.
Yes.
We'll obviously vote on that, but that seems to make sense to me.
There won't be a problem.
COVID issues aside, even.
Right.
Yeah, this is it. It pains me greatly to say the words that I'm saying. I was excited to read those cases, to find one that could help me vote yes, and I didn't in my reading of them. You know, I would line up to sign the signatures that were needed to get on the town meeting to change the bylaw in this instance, but until it is changed, I'm not there. Susan, what's that?
Any public comment?
Yeah, absolutely. Susan, do you have anything to add or anything else to ask? We're going to open it up to if there's any public comment in a moment.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I don't have anything at this point. I'm also struggling with this, this decision, but I do agree. I wish there was a situation where I could look at this and say it's exactly for the need, that of the child. So, but thank you for the additional information.
Yes. George, anything else before we go
No.
to public?
No.
All right, so at this point, we're going to open up for public comment, especially now as we start to unmute some phones. If folks could watch out for background noise.
Q&A session has started.
So, Andy, do they need to press *6 if they would like to make a comment? Yes. So if you could please press *6 on your phone, which will drop you into a queue if you'd like to make a comment on or ask a question on this application.
No.
*6.
Twice.
Nobody?
Okay.
All right. With that, we're going to close the public portion,
Q&A session is over.
and we had a request for a continuance, so I'll make a motion that we grant the continuance on the application of the legs to our next meeting, which will be on December 17th.
Sounds right.
Oh,
Is it?
no.
There is a December meeting.
I got an anesthesia issue on December 17th.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I'm not going to be available. Yes.
We'll deal with that.
Yeah, we're gonna, so at our next meeting, which is probably going to be moved, to maybe earlier in that week, we're gonna have to figure it out. There's some building scenarios and whatnot, but I imagine,
To our December.
It'll be in
So,
December.
Our December
Yes.
meeting.
Okay,
Date to be determined.
thank you.
Okay.
Great.
All right, I second. You moved, I second?
yes, absolutely. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Susan?
Aye.
Yeah, she doesn't have any problem with the continuance, and we're good to go. So continued.
So continue.
Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Hannick,
Thank you,
thank you
guys.
so much. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Thank you.
Just so you know, we're recording and live now.
Oh, thank you.
You don't have to do it on your phone since like 7:15, so.
Great.
Oh, even better.
Even better. Great.
All right, so you can
There
end
might be
that.
a gap, but.
All right, with that,
Just give me a second.
we good?
You want to turn it off?
Yeah, you don't need me, yeah. You want me to show you this?
Probably have a rush. Show me where you're at.
All right, we're just dealing with our phone and some personnel here for 1 second, and then we're gonna move to our second application. Try to pick up pace for everyone. Oh, I gotta text Attorney Kavanaugh.
Yep.
And, I remembered.
But if you scroll down here,
Paul, so we're doing 34 Holly next, right?
That's right.
Greg Morris is on. These are phone numbers.
So
Okay.
if I hit on lecture, that'll go to Q&A.
All right. In an effort to,
If I hit on this, it will unmute them.
I think Mr. Kavanaugh stepped out for a moment as he had recused himself from that
I have to go to
application.
each one of these and unmute it?
I think we might,
Oh, okay.
And then you'll click on
Paul, if it's all right with you, we're just going to get started
All right.
rather than wait for Tom. Is that okay?
I guess.
Who's coming?
So Tom is here. He recused himself from the prior application.
He is here?
Yes, he is.
down here to the.
Where'd he go?
I think that might be him right
Oh,
there.
I didn't see him in the hallway.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll figure
he
it.
might have gone out to his car.
I thought he was home.
No.
He might be trying to break back in right now.
Blocked out.
See you
We'll get him back.
Monday. Have a good weekend.
It's not that easy to escape.
Annie, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great, Andy.
I'll be in touch about December.
He wasn't at the door.
He wasn't there.
After that, so.
All right, well, Paul, if it's all right with you, we have Susan, and we're just going to truck along.
You got enough people.
Do you want to file a missing persons report?
No, he's all right. We'll find him.
All right.
I got a tracker on him. He's good.
Got GPS on.
That's right. With that, we're going to hear our second application of the evening, that of Joe and Rita Lopez of 34 Hawley Road in Situate, requesting a special permit finding in accordance with MGL Chapter 48, Section 6, and/or Section 810.2 of the Situate zoning bylaw, and/or relief that the Board of Appeals may grant to raise a detached garage and reconstruct an attached two-story garage on a pre-existing non-conforming lot, the property being located at 34 Hawley Road in Situate.
That's him.
That's probably
Sure.
Tom.
I'd like to point out a minor discrepancy. The application says it's a detached garage, it's actually an attached garage.
Okay.
Okay.
Also in the application was a narrative I prepared, and I talked there about the garage being attached. There's photographs on one sheet, there's actually
Very good.
I was just stating that in the application, I call for a detached garage when in fact it's actually attached.
Okay.
In the narrative, I do talk about the garage being attached. There's a page with 4 photographs. 3 of them, you can see the roof that connects the 2 existing structures as is shown on my plan that I submitted. The applicant is proposing to raise the existing garage and reconstruct it. It'll have a second floor to it, which they would use for storage and future living space. The current setback of that existing structure, the rear yard is only 2.4 feet off the rear property line. We're proposing to increase that to 8.2 feet. The right side setback currently is 0.9 feet. We would increase that to 2.0 feet at the right rear corner and 2.4 feet at the right front corner of the proposed garage. We're not proposing any changes in the grade. So in the application, I also addressed the criteria for granting the special permit as well. So the bottom line is that the new structure would have setbacks that would be less non-conforming than the current structure. I think with that, I'll end and answer any questions you may have.
What's the square footage of the new potential living space?
Of the new garage, of the new structure?
Yeah, of the footprint looks rather similar, but there'll be there'll be storage and potential living space
Yeah,
above.
You're talking about the gross floor area?
Yes,
Gross floor area is around 12%. In the zoning chart, I just showed 20 to indicate that we aren't going above that, but
sure, but
in the application, it's a 12% increase.
do you know roughly what the square footage that you're adding is?
Yes.
I'm not questioning the calculation, just trying to get an idea, so I didn't
We're
see
going
it.
from 3,072 to 3,492.
All right, so 420 feet,
That's about 420 square feet increase,
okay. And
which
then,
is the top floor.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, which is the top floor, right?
And
We're not including the garage parking itself,
And
right?
if you look at the garage right now is,
with a two-story
Right there.
garage, do the setbacks change?
the setbacks change.
With a two-story garage,
Yes.
so what,
You know, right now, it's an attached structure, and the new structure would be attached as well.
okay, so we're,
This is now,
but a little bit of a gray area, right? With an attached garage that's one story versus so the rear yard setback is 20. And that, I guess the house is non-conforming at 19.1,
that's right.
but the garage was not conforming previously,
No,
right?
no, the garage never was,
Right.
both rear and side.
But this is, what this is there's new living space significantly further into
Yeah, the
the
second
20-foot
floor,
rear yard
yeah,
setback.
the plan is the second floor of the garage would be would have a walkway or a door into the second floor of the house,
Yes,
and they'd use that for storage as well as future living space.
right.
That's why I'm including that in the increase in the gross floor area.
Yeah, I think that's right, but
What would be, Bob, where it's two-story now, is it still 8 feet, 20 feet for the sides and the rear?
One story, if it were detached, would be 8 feet for the rear.
right.
If it's attached to the house, it's still 20 feet.
Okay.
And two-story detached would also be 20 feet
To the rear, okay.
to the rear.
So where it's attached, it's all part of the same structure.
It's
Yeah.
essentially an addition to the home,
Right.
which is going from a 10-inch nonconformity to a 12-foot nonconformity.
So they're bettering the
Well,
nonconformity.
8 foot, yeah.
What's
they're
that?
They're making the nonconformity better.
Nope. No, right now, the living space is 19 feet from the rear lot line. And the addition and the new garage is gonna put living space 8.2 feet from the
8.2,
rear
right,
lot
right,
line.
right.
Right. So in a sense, the garage nonconformity is getting better, but the living space nonconformity is
increasing.
Is increasing, right?
Yeah, it's I don't know that we've allowed the addition of living space from a very minor nonconformity to,
Right.
I don't know that we've allowed living space that close to lot lines when it wasn't there. And then, to that point, the living space was not within the right side setback previously, and
There was
now
no-
it
right,
will
there-
be.
There was no living space that far over, or that far back.
So,
Paul, may we ask, in the new garage structure, is the living space all across on top of the garage? So is it,
No, some of the second level would be storage, and some would be habitable space.
okay. So is the habitable space closer to the house or closer to the lot line?
I believe that'd be closer to the house, the way he's
Sure.
proposing it. Because what they're proposing to do is have a doorway from the back of the house on the second floor
Yeah,
to go right into the garage, I mean, the second floor above the garage.
right. So the second floor meets with the second floor, and then part of it, closer to the lot line, might be
Would-
storage.
Yeah, which makes sense to go from one living space to the other.
Mm.
Bob, what do you have for us on this one? Do you have the plan in front of you? No, honestly,
A
I
more
would,
detailed
here,
plan.
Joe,
I would like your,
Paul, do you have your plan?
this isn't a variance,
Copy
is
of your
it?
plan?
I don't, I see the understanding that it's not.
Well, I mean,
It's a being attached is important, even though it's sort of trivial at the end of the day.
Mhm.
But that is important, because if it wasn't attached,
Well, then,
I think it would definitely be a variance. But
It is attached.
it's attached by a roof line, it's not attached by ingress and egress. But that or not,
So
we're
you-
putting living space in setbacks where living space didn't exist before.
so, Paul, let me,
Now, it did, you got your 0.9 foot rear side nonconformity there, but so you want to go from 0.9 to 12 feet of nonconformity in the back. And on the side,
no, two.
two.
It's two on the side,
no, on the side, we want to go,
and 8 feet, 8.2 in the back.
right, but I'm still looking at it as where living
No,
space
to
was
8.2.
was encroaching
Yep.
to where living space wasn't encroaching. There was no encroachment of the living space on the right side before. And now there's going to be a substantial encroachment. And there was a very, very minor encroachment of living space in the back before. And now there's going to be a substantial encroachment of
Well,
living space in the
that's,
back.
yes.
Yeah.
So
Well,
so
what's
the question
the-
is, where is the living space? A couple questions that
Sure.
might be helpful. Where is the living space in this, with respect to the setbacks? Second question is, this was a attached garage. Was there an entrance from the house to the attached garage? I understand the roof line attached it, but was
At,
there?
at the lower level, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was connected, the original attached garage, you could go from the attached garage into the house. I'm asking.
I'm not sure. about
That's
that.
why I'm asking him.
Yeah.
I can't tell.
Yeah, it's hard, it is hard to tell.
All right, that's the problem we had last time, which
The pictures.
there was some stuff said it was attached, some said detached, right? It is attached.
Can't tell.
But I can't tell from back here, like, is that it? Is that the connection? And that door, or that?
I'm guessing it's this one,
You can't,
right?
you can't see.
I think that's it, right?
The top left one?
If you hold the
I think that's from the
photograph up,
backyard.
Yeah, that's.
Looking at the back of the house.
That's like a covered porch or something in between them, right?
There's a covered porch on the side of the house. This is the existing garage.
Yep,
This is the roof that connects the house to the garage.
yep.
There's like a walkway, between the garage and the house that's covered, but halfway down on the walkway, there's a door that goes into the house at the lower level. You can't see it in the photo, but it is there.
Okay. But it doesn't go from the garage directly, it's not from the garage into the house, it's the garage walkway house.
I don't recall a door on the side of the garage, but they can walk into the house from there. from that-
They can walk into the house from the garage.
Yeah. If that living space on the second floor was restricted to the left half of the garage, you would have, the garage is 20 feet wide. It's 2 feet off the property line. If any future habitable space was limited to so it was no more than 8 feet closer to the property line, does that help?
It doesn't
It doesn't hurt.
hurt, yeah.
I think it's helpful for this
I mean, if that
analysis.
was part of the decision.
Certainly doesn't hurt. Yeah. I'm trying to think of when I've done one of these where we took new living space, right? I mean, if you're raising and reconstructing the garage, this is a no-brainer. It's nothing.
Right.
It's easy. But where we're adding living space, if the living, yeah.
In an addition, yeah. I mean, what would stop them now, Bob, if they have that garage and they just said, we're gonna finish it? All they need is a building permit?
If they were,
20.
it's gotta be under 20%
Yeah.
additional to the existing house to start with, but that section also says that any raise, reconstruct, repair, whatever, change
Right,
has gotta meet setback requirements.
right. So it'd still be here.
It'd still be.
Because it'd be
Well,
habitable
wait.
space,
Oh,
because it'd be habitable space.
I wish I had brought my book and I can go get it.
right here, but wait, they wouldn't be here if it was,
It would be an alteration.
they're adding 420,
No, they're at 12%
yeah,
of
so.
the living
So
space.
that
It's the
doesn't
garage.
kick in. The only distinction that's made by the 20% is that if it's under that and it meets setback requirements.
Understood.
Right.
I can
that's
permit
right.
it,
That's
I can
right.
permit it directly.
I got you.
Otherwise, it has to come before the board.
Yes.
Right,
So.
right. If this had met side setbacks, we wouldn't be here.
Right, exactly.
Well, no, because it doesn't meet rear either.
Yeah, well, yeah,
But if
dimensional.
it met setbacks, we wouldn't be here.
Right.
Well, right, and it wouldn't be,
And that's why
and
we're
it wouldn't be a concern, and it would be in my opinion, a slam dunk, even if it was over 20%. It's just
If
the,
what, I couldn't, it'd be a slam dunk if it was what?
if it met the setbacks and you were just adding 20% on a non-conforming lot, that's a totally different application. Here, we're putting living space in setbacks that didn't exist.
I think it's a living space. I'm not even concerned if they did a 2-story, or it's a little bit higher. Use it for storage. That's what garages are for.
It
Yeah.
could be a two-story garage that was complete storage,
Right?
and that would, right, it would be less non-conforming.
Yeah, it's, ugh.
Anthony, can
Yeah.
I ask you a question?
Yes, please.
In theory, if the new structure had an 8-foot side yard setback, and the existing house is 19.1 feet, if you held the 19.1 feet for a rear yard setback to match the rear line of the house, and assuming you held an 8-foot setback, then everything would conform? I mean, except that the rear yard setback would be a foot shy, but it matched the
Right?
existing house, yeah. The only thing is, the only problem I have is the garage isn't wide enough to get a car in there
Right?
because of the house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the garage isn't what's giving us pause. It's the new living space so significantly into the setback.
So is it the living space that's causing you
I think yes,
the
yes.
problem? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where that's just a different path than I'm used to going, is this is arguably, Bob, I was 100% with you on the,
Yeah,
on the
okay.
20 and now, absolutely. This is a significant change to the non-conforming
Nature.
dimensional nature of living space on the
Of the
lot.
use.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you're putting in non-conforming living space, right? You're not,
Where there wasn't.
where there wasn't any. It's new non-conforming living space. There's less non-conforming garage space, right? But
If that living space was restricted to the left half of the second floor, Need a decision? Does that help you at all?
So that's kind of difficult to do without,
It's kind of hard to police.
yeah. I mean, put your office on this side and your boxes on that side?
I mean, he's explained to me that because what they want to do is to use the left side of the garages, look at it from the street, to use that for on the second floor, because that's closest to the living space in the upstairs in the back. I think they want to expand one of the rooms in the back of the house on the second floor to make it larger and put it in part of the garage, and then use the rest of it for storage.
Bob, is that even something we can put into effect at the building plan stage?
Well, we certainly could, if that were a condition of the special permit.
What you could do on the architectural plan is just show that to be walled off somewhere and not be heated space or whatever.
Yeah. I think that makes me feel a little bit better.
And we would have a way to confirm that and not lose track of it, so to speak, because the special permit has to be supplied as part of the building permit application.
Right.
And it'd be on title.
Yep. Yeah, I sort of, without that, it almost feels like that's a new non-conforming. But I know, but it's, to a certain extent, it's not. I have to pour back over the code looking at living space versus not. I don't think we really draw a distinction in the code, right?
There's a height, if it's, for instance, on the second floor or anywhere, it's got to be over, half the space has to be over 7 feet 2 in height. For instance, if you're under the eaves and that sort of thing. I don't know if that would be the case here.
Yeah.
But you can, it seemed to me you could certainly define it as living space by the design and construction of that area. I mean, just
Right, it's not.
don't finish it off, bare rafters, no insulation, et cetera, et cetera.
Susan, anything to ask or add?
No, I don't, not at this time, thank you.
Of course. Public? At this point, we're going to try to open it up for public comment. We're going to try to...
Q&A session has started.
If you would like to make a comment or ask a question, please press *6 on your phone to be placed into queue. Otherwise, please try to avoid any background noise. Anybody? We've become significantly less popular during these COVID times. It's happened to me at home, too.
No, I don't see any.
Okay, *6 on your phone. We'll give you one more second, but, all right. Huh. Ed's knowledge of zoning board precedent is missed this evening.
I know. He always remembers the case.
Yeah. All right, with that, I think we're going to close the public portion. Thank you, Bob.
Q&A session is over.
Now, what do we, am I being too concerned about the living space going into the side setback there?
I think it's a
Yeah, I mean, look, harm, neighborhood, and all those, those types of arguments, no, that's not the issue here, but I think we are creating potentially more non-conforming space, non-conforming living space. But I would probably feel comfortable with a limitation.
I think I would too. I'm trying to remember, I can't think of other times where we put living space in a setback where it didn't exist before, just because storage space was in that setback already.
No, we've extended living space.
Which was already in a setback.
Correct.
Yes.
Can I make a suggestion if
Please.
it'll help? When they file for the building permit, instruct, you know, the condition would be that the building inspector would have to ensure that the framing plan indicates which area would not be constructed as a habitable space.
Within the
One
right
thing
side, yeah.
would be the ceiling height. It can't be over 7'3". You don't need that much height for storage anyway.
No, no.
No,
And
no.
then you show the partition in the areas that would be walled off and used for the expansion of the room on the second floor of the existing house.
And do we know if the applicant will be amenable to that? They would. All right. Well, I think that makes me feel better. Because I think the footprint, I think is an improvement.
Right.
I do too. No, I think it's, it takes it off the neighbor a little bit, takes it off the back a little bit.
It's great, whenever you can get something from 2 feet to 8 feet is nice, having heard from the fire department and whatnot.
The other
that
thing is,
8-foot numbers.
yeah, like Paul said, to make it if you keep going, if you try to take it off even a little bit more from the right side setback, the garage almost becomes non-usable.
Yeah, it's
no,
it's already there. It's just, yeah. All right.
One other thing that will be done architecturally on that is because it's so close to the property line, that new wall is going to have to be fireproofed and can't have any windows in it.
And I'm
So-
guessing probably the wall between the livable space and the storage should be fire.
Yes, well, storage and also the garage and the livable space needs a fire rating as well.
That's good.
Yeah, so the probability that upstairs space will become one large, because no windows.
Yeah, it's even
right,
less,
it's
right.
even less. So if
Yeah.
what they're really looking to do is extend,
That is what it is, yeah.
right?
So if it's 400,
Alright.
so that probably makes it, half of it, so it'd be like 200 square feet. Anyway, potential living space, maybe, at
Maybe.
best.
Yep. The motion?
I'll make a motion on the application of Yao and Rita Lopes of 34 Holly Road, Situate, Mass. Their request for a special permit finding in accordance with Chapter 48, Section 6, and 810.2 of the Situate zoning bylaw, to raise the attached garage and reconstruct a 2-story attached garage on a pre-existing non-conforming lot. I would move that the board find that such raise and reconstruct is not more detrimental to the neighborhood, and that it doesn't intensify any existing nonconformities. And with that, I would make the condition that on the addition, on the second floor, even on the first floor, that there be no living space less than 8 feet off the right property line, as depicted on the plan prepared by Paul Marabito, dated September 10th, 2020, of Ross Engineering.
Seconded?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
No problem, thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Good night, Paul.
I'll write that one.
Talk to you soon.
All right. With that, our third application on the evening, I guess, Bob, are you able to determine if the Hamels are here? Hamel?
Let me look.
Aldona Hamel of 17 Old Farm Road.
Yes.
Fantastic. We're going to bring forth our third application, that of Aldona Hamel of 17 Old Farm Road in Situate, requesting a special permit finding in accordance with MGL Chapter 48, Section 6 of the Situate bylaw and Section 470.6F, 810.2, and/or any other relief that the Board of Appeals may grant to raise and reconstruct a single-family dwelling on a pre-existing non-conforming lot, increasing the gross floor area by more than 20% at Old Farm Road. 17 Old Farm Road, excuse me.
Ms. Hamel, are you here? I believe.
I am.
Oh, good.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Hi there.
Hello.
Hi there. Miss Hamel, if you could just tell us quickly about your project here.
Yes, I also have Brendan Sullivan on the line from Camavaro Consulting.
Wonderful.
But basically what I'm trying to do is this is a house that is on an existing lot with existing house, and I'm looking to raise the house and build a new structure primarily to increase, the square footage, but to go up, not to increase the footprint at all. I also want to design it in such a way so that I can get it off of the floodplain, so that that would be more compliant with FEMA. We went through the Concom, and that was approved. There was no problems with that. And I think we're down to just a minor zoning issue with the front portico.
On the front portico,
Yeah.
so the required front setback is 30 feet, and I see that the portico, which I believe is covered, will exceed that 30 feet and will be 28 and a half feet from the street. So unless this qualifies for our average setback on the street, which I can't say I understand how that works on a cul-de-sac, if it doesn't, you would need a variance for your portico. Am I?
That would be my reading. Because
Yeah.
the existing,
Bob, please,
Yes,
sorry
please.
to interrupt you.
Bob Bain.
There is an exclusion to that for things like cornices, eaves, projections along the lines of a bay window, that sort of thing, of 18 inches. So you can extend 18 inches into any required setback with a feature like that.
Okay.
An eave.
portico?
An overhanging eave.
Okay,
So,
so they got 18 inches.
They're at 19.
They're at 19 inches. Okay.
So
So I
that would
I
even be a
would
cover,
think-
would that be covering even over stairs?
No, they're at 18 inches.
They're
They're at
at-
18
Yeah,
inches.
there's no reason you couldn't do that.
I believed them. I went to
Yeah,
law
why?
school.
What you'd have to do would be to keep the
18
supporting
front and a half.
structure, columns, or whatever the case may be,
why I'm
beyond the
not a doctor.
30-foot limit.
right.
But then you could overhang the roof that 18 inches into the 30-foot limit.
So they are within the setback, is what you were telling us, Bob.
Correct. Yes.
Fantastic. Well, this,
So the only reason that they're here is because of the percentage increase?
20%.
It's 20%, right? Because it's a 95% increase in the square
4
footage.
inches.
and it is entirely within the envelope.
And they're bringing it up.
And they're getting it out of the floodplain. And Bob is telling us that due to an exclusion that I was not aware of,
Right.
but I am happy to hear exists, the portico is in conformance with the front setback.
Depending on the exact design, but yes, from what I can see here on the site plan.
According to this
It would be in conformance.
plan, exactly 18 inches short of 30 feet. I have nothing else to add.
That's good news. Yeah.
I don't know about that section.
I thought it dealt with like roof lines.
Yeah, I knew about the bay window. I didn't know
Vents.
the great.
Yeah, the bay,
I
right.
love it.
Okay.
Susan, any questions? And before I say that, so sometimes a provision of our zoning code that folks aren't aware of is the front setback almost everywhere in Situate is 30 feet. But if the average setback of homes on a block, and I am oversimplifying it to shorten the explanation, if the average setback of homes in between two intervening side streets is less than 30 feet, that smaller number becomes the setback requirement. So that was what we were mentioning initially. I was overlooking the fact that the portico got an extra 18 inches of space, which brings this into conformance.
Right.
So with that explanation, do you have any questions or anything to add, Susan?
Okay, thank you for the clarification. I do not have anything to add.
Nope.
It looks clear on the plan.
No problem at all. Public? All right, with that, we're going to open this up to the public. Again, if you would like to be heard on this application, if you could please press *6 on your phone.
Q&A session has started.
*6 on your phone if you have anything to ask or add for this application. All right, Bob. I'm good if you are.
Let me just scroll down here.
Of course.
No, I don't see anyone wanting to speak.
All right. With that, we are going to close the public hearing. And I will make a motion that the, oh wait, 470.6F, we gotta do that too. Yeah. You know what, here, I'm gonna do it this way. I will make a motion that the board grant the special permit request of Aldona Hamo of 17 Old Farm Road to raise and reconstruct the single-family home as shown on a site plan prepared by Kavanaugh Consulting, dated September 16th, 2020. And the board find that to the extent...
Q&A session is over.
That's okay.
Excuse me.
The board find that to the extent the proposed raise and reconstruction intensifies any existing nonconformities, that such intensification is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. The board find that no new nonconformities are being created, and the board find that the application satisfies the requirements of section 470.6F.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 The ayes have it. There we go.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you. And then, thank you, Tom.
Yeah.
Hey, Susan, just to update you, well, the board only has 3 votes that are applied to each application. We traditionally have all members present just vote and call out the ayes or nays. We do that just as a matter of practice. We keep everyone involved, and then if someone was disqualified, we still have another vote for the record.
Okay, then I, on the last one, sorry about that.
There you go, no worries at all.
I was doing the same thing.
You are a good sport for being so willing to get up to speed. I remember when I attended my first meeting, and I didn't have to deal with COVID protocols and remoteness, so we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Of course.
Aberdeen Drive?
With that, we're going to move to our 4th application. Bob, are you able to tell if Tommy McCarthy is on the line?
I believe the answer is yes.
I will.
You want me to read the application?
Yeah, please, thank you.
Mr. McCarthy, are you there?
Yes, yes, I am.
Okay.
The 4th application is Tom.
You're live.
We can hear you, Mr. McCarthy.
Oh, you can hear me? Okay, very good.
The 4th application is Tommy McCarthy of 49 Aberdeen Drive, Situate, Mass., who requests a special permit finding pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 6, and 810.2 of the Situate zoning bylaws to allow the raising and reconstructing of a pre-existing non-conforming single-family home on a pre-existing non-conforming lot, increasing the gross floor area by more than 20% at 9 Otis Road, Situate, Mass., Assessors Map 46, Block 13, Parcel 3.
Mr. McCarthy, you are Forge Ahead LLC?
Yes.
All right.
Oh,
If you could just tell us a little bit about what the plan for the property is here.
okay, there's a lot of noise in the background. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can.
Can you still hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
What we're doing here is just tearing down the existing home because it was too far gone to save it, although I would always opt to save it. I'm a builder in Situate for over 30 years, and so I would always try to save it, but we can't. And also where it is in proximity to the right-hand lot line, it made no sense anyway. So we're just trying to construct a new home that meets all the setbacks and centered it more on the lot. And that's about it.
Thank you.
You're,
We've got we're non-conforming as to, I didn't have a chart.
Frontage,
it's the old one.
I'm guessing frontage area with,
Frontage area and width. So the lot is dimensionally non-conforming. The existing building is in a ridiculous location. And the new building is gonna be in a perfect location, as far, if I dare say so myself. All right. I think I'm set.
what's the easement over there? Not that it matters.
A proposed easement.
Catch basin.
That's a good question.
Mr. McCarthy, what's the proposed 8-foot wide easement for?
That was going to be from the previous owner of the house abutting the land on that side.
Yep.
His
Driveway?
his porch.
Oh.
The rear part of his porch was actually on the lot line, and they couldn't even walk around their house. So we had offered that up. He has since then sold that. And you know what? I don't know if the new owner wants to maybe take use of that or not. But at this point, it is not going to be used.
Okay.
But is that, we got a catch basin there that looks like it runs out into the street onto your neighbor's land as well.
Yeah, that's actually the town drain. It comes off of the road behind on the other, off of Foam Road.
Oh.
And it cuts through there, as does the water service too. And they just, Topman Enterprises just last summer, it was not working correctly, and they dug it all up and reset everything, so it works fine now.
And it looks like your neighbor's driveway is on your property as well.
Well, that driveway was put in by the previous neighbor who, he was putting his house up for sale on a Friday, and he went out on a Thursday and put all that in and cemented in cobblestones and everything, thinking that I wouldn't drive by or anything. And that's how that happened.
That's lovely. All right.
And he sold the house right away.
Oh, even better. That's,
sneaky, huh?
That's just glorious.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
All right. Well, George, any questions? No. Susan, any questions on this?
I don't have any. It's pretty straightforward. Thank you.
Does this need floodplain? Do we need?
Don't see from the plan. What are you thinking, 470.6?
Yeah. It says zone
Are we in,
FEMA AE.
AE.
Yeah, within the A15 FEMA flood zone.
So does that require 470.6?
Yes, we are.
It will require, no, it's not the Situate flood zone.
Okay.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they don't need relief from us. They have considerations.
They'll have foundation design requirements, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Elevation.
All right. With that, we're going to open it up to public comments. If anyone would like to be heard on this application, please press star 6. Star 6.
Q&A session has started.
Now we're clicking with this. Star 6 on your phone if you would like to be heard. Okay, with that, we're gonna close the public public portion.
Hello, my name is Michael Oskus. I live directly behind 9 Otis at 10 Fulham Road, and I think this project would be detrimental to me with the flooding. I think if they expand the footprint of that building or move it, the flood water is going to raise much higher in my building.
I'm sorry, what was your name, sir?
Mike Alauskas from 10 Fulham Road.
Hi, Mike.
I'm a direct abutter right behind him. And that land floods quite often.
Certainly. Okay. Thank you. Yes, please, Bob.
I would comment on that the FEMA requirement for the foundation design is going to include what they call flood vents, allowing the water to pass into the foundation void below the house, whether it be a crawl space or just simply an area below the house, then flow out again as the water recedes. That's a requirement of both the Mass Code and FEMA. Under those circumstances, there should really be no difference whatsoever in the path or quantity of water that passes through or over that site.
Okay, I feel that if there's a bigger building on the lot, that there's going to be more water coming back towards me. And with all the vegetation taken down on the lot that was there over so many years, I think it's just going to be a greater flow of water coming into my house with every time it floods.
Again, the house is not, because of the foundation design, going to displace any water. The water is going to be, actually, the house is going to displace less water because there'll be no part of the house that takes the place of what otherwise would be water if that site flooded. The water is simply going to go underneath the house, and then when it recedes, come back out from underneath the house and go back to where it started.
I believe before the water would pool in the basement of that house before it got to me. And there was a berm there of vegetation, trees and just a brush and bushes and stuff. That's all gone. Now it's just a direct shot to my living room.
All right, in the case of the design of the new foundation, the level of the grade inside that foundation can't be any less than the grade outside the foundation. The house can't have a basement, in effect, under those.
That means more water will come towards me.
Well,
No, I think.
So it wouldn't be something to hold it, just keep come quicker into my house. A lot of times the water stops right at the fence, and then sometimes it just comes in. I think now it would be coming more often.
Sir, I think what we're trying to get at is the building code that will be applied to this project does take flooding and displacement of water into account. And that's really is the extent of the power that this board has to regulate or prevent someone from utilizing their property. But we do appreciate your comments.
Okay, I just like to be on the record to oppose it, and that's all.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
If we have anyone else, it's *6 on your phone, please. All right, with that, we will close the public portion.
I have one.
You got one more. There we go.
I believe so. Mr. Mankiewicz?
Hi there, this is Suzanne Walsh-Mankiewicz. I'm a property owner on 6 Fulham Road.
Yes, please.
Yep, you're on.
Hi there, I just wanted to, also, this is my sister butter, and the property does flood significantly, and I'm concerned about the drainage pipe that runs from behind my property on Fulham Road in between. And I do think that changing the footprint of the home is going to increase runoff, increase flooding, and I'm concerned about the pipe that runs in between the two properties on Otis. And I would feel very concerned when they flush that pipe. They don't know where it goes. They believe it goes into the marsh. So I'm like, if that's over
We're losing you a bit, ma'am. It sounds like
I'm concerned about that. In the water line.
we lost the connection there. It looked like maybe you weren't speaking into the microphone, but
I'm sorry, I just, just want to go together with some people having to do the flooding, and it should be out there.
still unable to hear you, ma'am. Ma'am, are you there?
Okay, I just was wondering who's going to be responsible for that pipe in the drainage that runs from Bohm Road to Otis?
I couldn't say. That runs from Foam Road to Otis. It's my understanding from the applicant and from the looks of it that that's town drainage. That's town stormwater. So that would be a...
Right, up here, and...
Ma'am?
Cutting out again.
I am here. I just would like on the record that I am concerned about the runoff by increasing the size of the foundation on this property in the flood zone.
Certainly. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have anyone else? It would be *6 on your phone, please. Oh, no, you can't see the drainage pipe on satellite.
Just on the plan.
I do have one.
All right. Please provide your name and your address. You're being unmuted for the record. Please state your name and your address if you press *6 for this application. No?
Nope.
All right.
Let me just try one more.
Of course.
Make sure we're not missing anyone. We have a lot of casual observers this evening.
You do?
Yeah.
That may be leftovers from
Okay, I
first
think we're all right.
Okay. With that, we are going to close the public portion of this hearing.
Q&A session is over.
I should say the public comment portion of this hearing.
Can you hear me now? This is the applicant.
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, did you have something else to add?
Okay. I'm sorry?
Did you have something else to add?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I couldn't get through there for a second. I just wanted to let that last woman know that that is town drainage. And it was replaced from that, where it was broken before, right at that grate on the property, but it's all been replaced to the marsh now. I don't know if she didn't hear the beginning of that or not, but, so that is the case. And that's all I have, yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion? Unless we have something else to... Oh. Sure. I will make a motion that the board grant the application for the special permit on the application of Tommy McCarthy to raise and reconstruct the single-family home at 9 Otis Road in Situate in accordance with the proposed home shown on the plan prepared by Environmental Engineering Technologies and dated April 14th, 2020. That the board find that the proposed home does not create any new nonconformities, and to the extent it intensifies any existing nonconformities, that such intensifications are not substantially more detrimental to the surrounding neighborhood.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. You guys have it. Dad, Bob, are you able to see if Mr. Struzziero is available?
Yes, and also Greg Morse.
Fantastic. Sometimes I feel like I should recuse myself and get another Italian name in Situate.
You mispronounced it too, it's Struzziero.
Huh?
Struzziero.
Struzziero? Maybe not in the old country, who knows?
I mean, come on.
Our fifth application, that of Mr. Robert Struzziero of 330 Gannett Road in Situate, requesting a special permit finding in accordance with the Situate zoning bylaw, section 810.2, and/or Mass General Law, chapter 48, section 6, to allow the construction of a two-story addition to the pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling at 330 Gannett Road, increasing the gross floor area by more than 20%. Is the applicant on?
Yes, this is Gregory Morris, registered engineer on behalf of the applicant, Rob Struzziero.
Okay.
We're seeking a special permit. Good evening.
Hi, Greg.
We're seeking a special permit in accordance with 810.2 to allow an addition, a two-story addition, to Mr. Struzziero's residence at 330 Gannett Road. The property itself is 1.31 acres in size. It's located in the R2 zoning district. The building at the site, the house at the site, is non-conforming with respect to the side yard setback, and the lot itself is non-conforming with respect to the frontage. The frontage on Gannett Road is 40 feet, or 100 feet is typically required. The proposal here is to construct an addition as shown on the plan. The addition is on the north side of the existing house. The existing house, again, existing at 11 feet from that lot line. The proposed addition connects to the house at that 11-foot mark, and then at the northern corner of the addition ends up at 12.4 feet from the lot line. So it's no closer than what exists today. The lot line that's in question, or that we're discussing here for setback, I would note, is the zoning district boundary in North Situate for the business zoning district. The property on the west side of the lot line, owned by Buckley and Scott Company, is in the business zone, which only has an 8-foot side yard setback requirement. The R2, which this property is located in, typically has a 15-foot setback required. Otherwise, it conforms to the rear yard setbacks and all other side yard setbacks as proposed. We don't feel that this would be a detriment. It is a very large property. It's no closer to the lot line than what currently exists. The lot line is very well marked. There's a stockade fence along the lot line. So we seek the special permit.
Thank you, Greg. Tom, anything?
This is the extension I was talking about earlier.
Yes, exactly.
No, I think, and this property is set like way back.
Way back.
Right.
I don't have any problems.
Use Ed's pork chop term.
Right. Okay.
Pork chop lot.
Pork chop. George, anything else?
No.
Susan, any questions or comments for this one?
I don't have any questions or comments.
Sure.
Thank you.
Of course. With that, we are going to open it up to public Bob, unless you have anything to add on this one. We'll open it up to public comment. It is *6 if you would like to ask.
Q&A session has started.
If you'd like to ask a question or make a comment on this application, please press *6 on your phone.
Nothing.
All right. With that, we're going to close the public comment portion of this application.
Q&A session is over.
And do we,
I make a motion on the application of Robert Strazero, 330 Gannett Road, Situate, Mass., on his request for a special permit finding in accordance with Situate zoning bylaw 810.2 and Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 6, that the addition to his existing dwelling, as shown on the plan prepared by Gregory Morse, Morse Engineering, dated October 14th, 2020, that the proposed addition does not create any new nonconformities or intensify any existing nonconformities. To the extent that they do, it's not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood.
I second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll do that one too.
Aye.
And I'll do 9 Otis.
Thank you very much, Board.
Thank you, Greg. Have a good evening.
George, you want to do 17, Old Farm?
Want me to do 17 Old Farm?
Oh, I didn't know we missed that. That's my fault.
I'll
Thank
do-
you. All right.
We have minutes?
I don't have the email in front of me, but we did receive 3 meeting minutes. I remember which.
I can get it.
Were you able to review the 3?
I reviewed them and, yes.
So then I'd like to make a motion that we approve the 3 meeting minutes that were forwarded us by the building office. I want to say that they were October, September, and August.
It was
Were you able to pull it up? I was just trying to pull it up.
the meeting minutes from October 19th through March 2020.
Right, that's what it is, October to March.
Okay. And there we go. There were that many. Motion to approve those minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There we go.
Motion to adjourn?
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nice work.
Aye.
The hearing is closed. Susan, thank